Hey guys, it's Jeff. So another video for you today. This one's going to be on KelTec and the Tavor X95 coming up after this. Hey guys, I'm back. So what we have here is an X95. This is the Israeli Weapons Industries X95 Tavor. This came out, this was a remodeled version, I think around early 2000s. The Israeli Defense Force wanted a weapon that would compete with the M4, so they did a contract, they opened it up, and the submissions were between this and the M4 rifle that the US had been supplying the Israeli Defense Force for years and years and years. So after their trials, they went with the Tavor, the original Tavor, the bullpup design, great weapon, but it had some shortcomings. Around 2009, they revamped it into the X95, and now there's different caliber conversions, different modifications for this rifle in production, and it's used by several different militaries throughout the world. On the other hand, you have KelTec. So if you're familiar with KelTec, you're familiar with interesting designs, a lot of cutting edge ideas and thoughts, but sometimes the execution on those ideas is a little lacking. I'm gonna kind of compare the two, let you guys see, you know, my opinions, my thoughts. I own both. Pros and cons between the two. Why would you want to get a bullpup rifle to begin with? Well, they have better ergonomics, the pistol grips, the triggers, you know, they're closer up against your body. The weight of the firearm is going to be, the majority of the reciprocating parts are going to be in the rear of the gun. That's going to be between your strong hand and your body, so a lot of that weight offset is going to be closer into the core of the shooter, so you're going to have a less moving parts moving around. You also got a overall length that's shorter, so if you're doing close quarters combat type stuff, this is going to be an ideal weapon. If you're doing vehicle, you know, extractions or insertions into vehicles, having a shorter rifle or shorter weapon is going to be ideal. But you also, the benefit of having a bullpup is you get a full-length barrel. So you're getting, you know, a 16+ inch barrel on a firearm that has an overall length of around less than 30 inches, you know, right around 26, 27 inches, depending on the type of bullpup you're talking about. Now, what does that mean? Well, the benefits of that are you get to retain the ballistic efficiency of the 5.56 round without decreasing the overall length of the barrel, which means that the ballistics are going to have the terminal effects that they were designed to have. And when you start reducing the length of the barrel, you start impacting that ballistic coefficient on the round. So there's a lot of charts out there, but I think the prevailing wisdom is you don't want to go any less than about 10 inches on the 5.56 if you want to retain the terminal effects of the tumble of the 5.56 round. And so, you know, 16-inch barrels on these guys, 16-inch, 17-inch barrels on these guys, you're going to retain all of the ballistic efficiency without increasing the overall length of the firearm. That's a great thing, right? So the problem or the downside to bullpups in general are the increased complexity of the mechanisms that you are used to extract and strip off another round. The bolt carrier is going to be rearward, so it's going to be in this area of the firearms, you know, it's right in here. And with that, these are usually enclosed areas of the firearm. So if you have a problem in that area of the firearm, getting access to it is either going to require that you stick your fingers down into, you know, little ass holes like this to try to get into, remove the round that's having a problem, whether it's failure to fire, failure to eject, double feeds, etc. It's complex, at least on the RDB. It's a little less so on the Tavor, and because of that, I think the Tavor is just a little bit better firearm than the KelTec. And you know, along that, this isn't a bashing session on KelTec. This is kind of, I'm going to, you know, try to digress into the comparing and contrasting the two firearms, so that if you're in the market for one or the other, you're going to have a better understanding of what you're getting. So with the Tavor, you know, one of the you know, just the overall positives of the Tavor rifle is it's being used in military conflicts around the world right now. The KelTec is a sportsman's rifle. This is a modern sporting rifle. It has a lot of the benefits that the KelTec has, but it's not being seen in combat, and there's a lot of reasons why that may be the case. More so than, you know, the Tavor is just a better engineered rifle. I think that there's some flaws in the KelTec that, you know, prevent countries from wanting to adopt that as their rifle of choice. So we'll just start kind of at the back. So accessing on the Tavor, accessing the bolt carrier and gas piston are done through a trap door back here on the back. So you pop this pin in, the door swings open, you pull out the entire bolt carrier group and gas piston, you clean them off, you put them back in, and that's field service maintenance right there. If you want to take apart the KelTec, you have to remove the front grip, and then you have to remove all the pins along the inside here, and then the bottom and the top will separate, and then you can get access to the bolt carrier and the gas piston inside there. So a lot more disassembly is required for the KelTec to access the parts and components that make it, you know, the fire control group or the fire mechanism that allow the gun to cycle. You do have access to it through the bottom, because, you know, through the magazine feed, whereas on the side, whereas on the Tavor, access to that is on the side. So if you have to get in here with your finger, it's a little easier to do than it is to try to feed your fingers up through the magazine well to try to get access to that area. That's complex, that's complexity. Because of that, I think the KelTec is a little more complicated. But on the positive sides for the KelTec, they're about, you know, ballpark real world numbers, they're about half of the cost of the Tavor. So you can pick one of these up for sub $1,000. They have an MSRP of $1,250, I believe, but you can find these, you know, real world $1,000. Whereas these have an MSRP of in the $1,800 range, and real world you're going to pay around $1,500 for it. So, you know, with that said, both of them, you know, they have their financial differences as well. Are you going to be going to war? Is this going to replace an AR-15? Is it going to be your only weapon? Then you may want to consider the Tavor. If this is going to be just an additional modern sporting rifle in your arsenal, and you want to have something that's a little bit, you know, a little more interesting, a little more of a conversation piece, then the KelTec is absolutely an interesting rifle, and it's definitely worth looking at. So, you know, with that said, they're both soft shooting guns. They're both very accurate guns, or accurate enough for a battle rifle. They're both, you know, equally fun. The ergonomics, I mean, there's a lot to be said with the, you know, with the charging handle here on the KelTec. You know, it does come back and lock. It's also easier to switch this from right hand or left hand to right hand configurations. Is simply take it apart, remove the charging handle, move it over to the other side and reconnect it. Whereas on the Tavor, you've actually got to replace the entire bolt carrier group. And if you don't have one and you want to get it configured for, you know, left-hand shooting, etc., etc., I actually had to send it off to Tavor or to IWI and have them do it, one of their authorized gunsmiths, because I got this one and it was set up for a left-hand shooter. I didn't have the right-hand bolt for it, so that was a little bit of an expense as well. You know, there are some other issues with this. It is kind of finicky about the magazines that I use in it. It doesn't like GI surplus magazines, whereas this one I've never had any problem with any magazines. Lancer, GI, Steel, and Magpul have all worked flawlessly in this firearm, whereas this one will do okay with Lancer, and the polymer magazines it does fine with. But when you start getting into the surplus mags, aluminum and steel, it's 50-50 as to whether it's going to retain, stay retained inside the firearm. And I've got videos on that. I'll show you some of the problems that I'm still seeing even after this has gone back to the manufacturer for repair. I also know that this is an early serial number. This is a sub 1000 serial number. The KelTecs were having problems with their early models of the RDBs, and I think they've done some pretty good work to get that fixed, but there are some differences in the wild that you'll see where the bolt carrier on these things, some of them are spring loaded, some of them are still gravity fed. So if you open it up and you look inside of it, you know, what kind of bolt may give you an indication as to what generation of manufacturer you have. I don't know if they're publicizing that. I haven't seen them publicizing that anywhere, but I know that I'm in a couple of groups for the KelTec, and that is something that people have made notice of, and there are some guys out there who don't have that. Another thing that I found to be a bit problematic for the KelTec is their warranties. If you have a problem with the warranty, and you're not the original owner, they're not going to warranty your firearm for you. Now they'll repair it at charge, but they won't do it under the original owner's free warranty replacement or repair policy. So just know that that's a limitation. I don't know if IWI also has that stipulation. I do know that when I wanted to make a configuration change to this weapon, it was out of pocket. So, but it wasn't a standard change. I mean, I got this secondhand. I got it in a lefty config, like I said. So sending it in and getting it swapped over, they did, have to replace the bolt on that as well. So because of the extractor, the way the extractor works on the bolt face, they put a new bolt in there. So a little different. So a lot of the mechanisms for these two guys, so you have your bolt release on the KelTec, and your bolt releases here on the Tavor. Your magazine feeds in here on the KelTec. Your magazine feeds in here on the Tavor. Your magazine release is up front here on the Tavor, and your magazine release is back here like the original Tavor style. People complained on the original Tavor and in some early production models of the KelTec that their fat hands were hitting that and knocking the magazines loose. I could see where that could be a problem. I've seen some people with some big paws, and if you have big paws, hitting that could be a problem for you. I don't have that problem, and I've never had that problem. Other things that are going on, let's see. Oh, here's a safety, similar safety. This is a 45-degree safety, whereas this is a 90-degree safety. And I don't know if that's because it comes with another option, maybe in the combat version or the military version, where it has a burst mode or a full auto mode. But this is just a 45 only. Moving forward, this one has the tri-rail Picatinny underneath here. You have access to the Picatinny slots. On the RDB, you don't have that. You have some plastic rail pieces on the bottom section. You have the aluminum piece on the top. And if you want anything else, you're either going to have to tap into the plastic on this or go look for an aftermarket replacement. So you don't have any options for left or right side. That's not a pro or a con. It's just the way it is. And then, moving forward, they both come with the typical A2 birdcage flash hider. So all in all, I think the KelTec is a great value firearm, but knowing that there's problems with it, knowing that you're going to have to be aware of the particular nuances with this type of a weapon, or this weapon in particular, versus the nuances with this one. They both have nuances, but this one is working in the field, in combat, is taking lives and saving lives, and this one has been relegated to continued modern sporting usage only. So anyway, if you find this video helpful, guys, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. If you like this content and you haven't subscribed yet, please, consider subscribing. That's what really motivates me to keep making these videos. And also, you can find me on Instagram. I do a lot more updating on Instagram about various ideas and thoughts of what's going on in the gun community and also my personal life. So if you're interested in that, you can follow me at Jeff_Tack on Instagram, Facebook, Gunstreamer, and on BitChute. I'm on all those platforms. So, look for me there. If you like this content, anything ever happens to it, now's the time with the continued crackdowns with Google and YouTube to show support in any way you can, and likes and subscriptions are what does that for me personally. I don't get paid by anybody. I work a full-time job and I do this just for the love and passion of sharing content and information with you guys. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. Bye.